Hare Krishna devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. Always to Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Yeah, Sri Radhe Hare Mati, when you're ready, you can start Mati.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Prabhuji, can you share the screen? Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chevam Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jaye Mudirate Nashtapraya Suabhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtaki. Hare Krishna to all devotees. Today's reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, The Creation of the Fourth Order, Chapter 29, title talks between Narad and King Parichinabari, verses 78 through 29.2b. So, text 78. As long as we desire to enjoy sense gratification, we create material activities. When the living entity acts in the material field, he enjoys the senses while enjoying the senses, he creates another series of material activities. In this way, the living entity becomes entrapped as a conditioned soul. Text 79. You should always know that this cosmic manifestation is created, maintained, and annihilated by the will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Consequently, everything within this cosmic manifestation is under the control of the Lord. To be enlightened by this perfect knowledge, one should always engage himself in the devotional service of the Lord. Text 80. The great sage Maitreya continue. The supreme devotee, the great saint Narad, thus explained to King Parichabari the constitutional position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the living entity. After giving an invitation to the king, Narad Muni left to return to Siddhalok. Text 81. In the presence of his ministers, the saintly king Parichabari, he left orders for his sons to protect the citizens. He then left home and went off to undergo austerities in a holy place known as Kapila Ashram. Text 182. Having undergone austerities and penance at Kapila Ashram, King Parichabari attained full liberation from all material designations. He constantly engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord and attained spiritual position qualitatively equal to that of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Text 83. My dear Vidhur, one who hears this narration concerning the understanding of the living entity's spiritual existence as described by the great sage Narad, who relates it to others, will be liberated from the bodily conception of life. Text 84. This narration spoken by the great sage Narad is full of transcendental fame of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Consequently, this narration, when described, certainly sanctifies this material world. It purifies the heart of the living entity and helps him attain his spiritual identity. One who relates this transcendental narration will be liberated from all material bondage and will no longer have to wander within this material world. Text 85. The allegory of King Puranajana described herein according to authority was heard by me from my spiritual master, and it is full of spiritual knowledge. If one can understand the purpose of this allegory, he will certainly be relieved from the bodily conception and will clearly understand life after that. Although one may not understand what transmigration of the soul actually is, one can fully understand it by studying this narration. Text 2918-2a. A desire to maintain body, wife, and children is also observed in animal society. The animal have full intelligence to manage such affairs. If a human being is simply advanced In this respect, what is the difference between him and an animal? One should be very careful to understand this human life is attained after many, many births in the evolutionary process. A learned man who gives up the bodily conception of life, both gross and subtle, will, by the enlightenment of spiritual knowledge, become a prominent individual spirit soul, as the Supreme Lord is also. Text 29.1b. If a living entity is developed in Krishna consciousness and is merciful to others, and if his spiritual knowledge of self realization is perfect, he will immediately attain liberation from the bondage of material existence. The last text of the day, text 29.2b. Everything happening within time, which consists of past, present, and future, is merely a dream. That is the secret understanding in all Vedic literature. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Over to you, Prabhuji. Jai
Yeah,
Shri
thank,
Prabhupada.
yeah, thank you so much, Sri Radha Hari Mate. Thank you. Yeah, Chandikmati, when are you ready, you can start.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. Thank you for all the Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis for attending this session. I'll start with short prayers. Om Jnanam Timirandasya Jnananjana Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Today we have been doing. Can you see my screen, Prabhuji?
Yes, Mate, I can see. Okay.
We have been discussing 29th chapter of Canto 4 since a couple of days, and we are heading towards the end of this chapter now. We'll conclude this chapter today. Just to give a slight overview, is in this chapter, which is the topic says talks between Narada and King Prachinabhari. So in this previous chapter, Narad Muni gave an allegorical story about King Puranjana so that he could give the knowledge to King Prachinabhari. But in this chapter, the moment chapter started, Prachinabhari said that I did not understand this allegorical story. Could you give me a detailed understanding about the knowledge? And that's when Narad Muni starts giving us the knowledge about the personality of Godhead and our constitutional positions in detail. And now going on to the verse 78, where we have reached today. Here we see what is the cause of this samsara, this world. Why is this world there? So here we understand in this verse that it is there because of our desires. So we have unlimited desires. All the living entities have various kind of unlimited desires, and for fulfilling those desires, we are doing several activities, material activities. They might be pious activities, they might be impious activities, but the agenda of those activities is that we can fulfill our desires, our sense gratification. So whenever we do those activities, pious or impious, we create more reactions to it, bad or good, for which we have to take them. We have to bear those consequences, whether bad or good. And again, while facing those consequences, we have more desires and we try to fulfill them. And again, we suddenly find ourselves that we are stuck into this rut, this cycle of birth and death. We have heard the words from Shripad Adi Shankaracharya, that is Punarapi Jananam, Punarapi Maranam, Punarapi Janani Jathare Sharnam, Ahi Samasare, Bahudushatare, Kripa Karo, Mahi Murare, Bhaj Govindam, Bhaj Govindam, Bhaj Govindam, Moodmate. So who's the mood person over here, as in the foolish person over here? It's us. And what are we doing? We are getting birth, and then again we are dying, and then again we are taking birth, and again we are dying. The whole zest is that we are chewing the chewed again and again. And why is it happening? Because we want to have a lot of sense gratification. We have a lot of desires to enjoy ourselves, and this is why we are trapped in this. And then Prabhupada explains the only way to get out of this trap, to get out of this bondage, is to start with devotional service for Krishna. If we start acting for the satisfaction of Krishna, then there will be no more bondages, no more pious activity. Pious activities can bind us if everything we are doing is for Krishna. When we keep our sense gratification on the side and start working for Krishna's satisfaction, everything becomes a karma. And here it is said that material activities, Prabhupada is saying that material activities should be done only for maintaining this body with the soul. So a soul alone cannot achieve the agenda. What is our agenda? Our agenda is to go from point A to B. Point A is this material world that we are stuck in right now. And point B is the spiritual world where we all have to go. So for going from point A to B, we need a vahan, a vehicle, a way to go there. And this is the body that we have been gifted by Krishna. So instead of doing sense gratification and enjoying, if we just maintain this body, keep it healthy by giving it prasadam, taking proper sleep and having good association, we can actually create an environment where this vehicle can take us back home, back to Godhead. And even in Ishopanishad, it is said that we should take care of our body. That does not mean we have to go for spas and Botox and all these things. But what means is keeping the body healthy so that it will help us to do bhakti. Because once the body deteriorates or it starts getting diseased or sick because of our ignorance, then we won't be able to continue with our bhakti, which is the most prime reason that we have this birth, and this is how we can make it successful. Then when we move on to next verse, verse number 79, here it is explained by Narad Muni that it is very, very difficult for us to know our spirit soul, that we are the spirit soul. We generally relate ourselves to this body, this material body that we have. And why is it so difficult? He explains it's all because of Maya, that is Nisa, it's illusion, ignorance. Then Narad Muni says that it is easy to get out of this ignorance too. And that will happen once you start doing devotional service on the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And once you once you start doing the devotional service, you will realize who is Krishna. And once you are doing Krishna consciousness services, you are going to realize your own constitutional position. We always think that, oh, I'm an MBA, or I'm an engineer, or I'm a doctor, or I'm something. But our actual position is Das. Our actual position is the servant of the servant of the servant of Lord Krishna. So we realize what our position is. And once you know devotional service, your exact position, then you are in a good state to understand Krishna and this cosmic manifestation. This cosmic manifestation is something which is very wide, and people find it very difficult to understand. We have several scientists working on it, but they don't have a good concrete answer. But they, because they are ignoring the answers that are given to us in Srimad Bhagavatam very clearly, that what this cosmic manifestation is and why we are here, what is our aim, what is our constitutional position. Everything is provided to us in our Shastra if we go through it. And after this verse number 79, Narad Muni stops talking. And here, Maitreya Uvacha, in the next verse number 80, it is said that here Narad Muni, after giving all the instructions to King Prachinabhari, returns back to Siddhalok. So on this thing, Prabhupada has given us a description of Brahmalok and Siddhalok. As we all know that Brahmalok is the topmost lok of our planetary system. So it's the first comes Brahmalok, and Siddhalok, it is described, is one of the satellite of Brahmalok. And in this Siddhalok, all amazing great devotees like Narad Muni lived, and Narad Muni returned back to Siddhalok is what's being described over here. Everyone from this Siddhalok have the capability of traveling as per their desire. We do not have the capability to travel even within this planet Earth as we desire. But this is how amazing devotees are. In Siddhalok, Narad Muni can travel as per his desire, and after giving him all the knowledge, Prachinbari, he returned back. Then we move on to verse number 81. Yes, yeah. 81, we see that King Prachinabari, he left immediately for having his devotional services started. He left the kingdom for his kids to rule, and he just left a message. He did not even wait for his kids to come back, explain them things, and then leave. He just left a message to his ministers that tell my kids to take care of the citizens of the kingdom. And here, relating to this, there is a word that is being used is abhirakshane. In the verse we can see abhirakshane. So this is the way he wants his kids to maintain the citizens of the kingdom. So abhirakshane, Prabhupada is explaining, is following the varnashram system. All of us are very well aware, because of Prabhupada's mercy, what is varnashram system. So we have 4 varnas and we have 4 ashramas. So 4 varnas, we have Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, and we have 4 ashramas, which is Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyasa ashram. So he is given instructions that rule the citizens as per this system, because we see how when we are not following the Varnashram system in the current age, how badly we are failing as a society. Because Prabhupada explains that legislative laws will never be helpful to have a good obedient society. There is definitely going to be chaos and disruption in the functioning of the society. There will be unnecessary progenies and thieves, and everything will happen when a society is not conducted or ruled as per the Varnashram system. The only way to have a good etiquette and a good society is already prescribed to us. And then it is said that King Prachinabari left to a holy place called as Kapilasharam. So here it is explained, Sridhar Swami informs us, where is this Kapilasharam? So it is at the intersection of Bay of Bengal and the river Ganges, Ganga. That's where that Kapilashram place is. It is nowadays also known as Ganga Sagar. It is one of the most famous pilgrimage places till date. And the name Kapilashram also comes because our Kapil Muni performed a lot of penances and austerities in this place. Hence, it is also named as Kapilashram. After this verse, moving on to verse number 82. This is going to be one of our important verses today. If time permits, dear devotees, you could just read the translation and the purport given by Srila Prabhupada. It's not very long though. So here, there is an important term that is being used over here is Tat Samyatam Agat. So here, what does that mean? That King Prachinabari, after executing his devotional services, had reached that stage of like the same position as the Lord. So when you talk about same position or same form as the Lord, it means qualitatively. Quantitatively, still Krishna is Krishna, nobody can match him, but qualitatively he had reached that stage. So here, this line also proves that Lord is always a person. Most of the Mayavadis always feel that Lord is Bhagwan is light or a power, and he does not have form. So this is a very, very wrong understanding and a wrong conception. Krishna is always, he's never formless. He always has a form, and he has a very, very beautiful form. And it's no basically just a light or anything. And when a person, further it is explained in this purport, when a person, a living entity, he reaches the perfection, that's when he achieves the Sachidananda Vigraha, like Krishna. So because there is no more material covering on it. So material covering is basically illusion, not knowing your constitutional position. So when a person reaches that perfection of bhakti, he attains a beautiful form, just like Krishna. And it is also explained in this verse that a spiritual soul can never mix with material element, right? It can easily get away from this material element the moment it desires to do so. So the spirit soul is never contaminated. And so here it is also said that a living entity is on a Jiva Bhuta platform for a very long time. But the moment the Jiva starts offering devotional service to the Lord, he reaches the Brahma Bhuta stage, which is one of the most topmost stage of bhakti. Here there is one more term that is being used is dhira. Prabhupada says that dhira is sometimes also used as vira, V-I-R-A. So here, what does dhira means? Prabhupada explains that is sober. We have already understood the meaning of this word in Bhagavad Gita also. So dhira means sober, the person who understands his position, who has the understanding of your constitutional position is a person who's sober, who's dhira. And Veera, as we already know, it is hero. So, hero in what sense? A hero is a person who's struggling against Maya. So, Prabhupada is saying that these two words can be used for each other as and when required because they mean the same. Because without a Dhira and Veera, there can be no spiritual salvation that can be attained. So, you need to be a hero to do bhakti. That is, you have to struggle against Maya. Daily, we are struggling against Maya. Every day we get up in the morning at 3:30 and Maya Devi comes to us and she tells, okay, you can sleep little half an hour longer. But still, if we don't listen to that Maya Devi and wake up, that is struggling against Maya Devi because Maya Devi is very, very powerful. So a devotee automatically is a Veera. Moving on to verse number 83. In this verse, Vidura is, Maitri Muni is telling Vidura that the real world is the spiritual world. And this material world is not true. It is just reflection. We have already read about this in Bhagavad Gita 15.1, Urdhamula Madha Shakam, where it says that the reality is the spiritual world and the material world is a perverted reflection of the spiritual world. So it is not real. So material world is just reflection. So everything happening over here is not the truth. So what does it mean? Like we think that this is my house forever. This is not a truth. I am going to be with my family forever after. This is not the truth because everything over here is temporary and our real place is back in our home, which is Goloka or Vaikuntha Loka. So that is the real place that we have to go. So that is the real world. This is just an perverted reflection. So why do we come over here? Why are we there in the material world if our real home is the spiritual world? So we had the intention to lord it over the nature. And that's why this place was created, material world was created. And when a Jivatma comes over here, and the moment he meets, that Jivatma meets a divine personality like Narad Muni or Guru Maharaj, that is the time, and when they follow the instructions, that is the time we see that person can go back home, back to Godhead. So, to get out of the clutches of this Maya or this material world, we need the hand of a Guru, and like Narada Muni over here. So, moving on to verse number 84. In 84, here it is explained that one thing is very, very necessary is constant kirtan of Krishna. We have read this in Satatam Kirtayanto Mam also in Bhagavad Gita, that there has to be constant kirtan glories of Krishna. Why? Why do we need to do this? So when we chant or glorify the Lord, our heart cleanses. When our heart cleanses, the knowledge that Narad Muni was trying to give here to Prachin Bhari, it is easy to absorb that knowledge. Otherwise, if the heart is dirty, it's not cleaned, it is very difficult to find logic in what Narad Muni is saying. So here, we've also read before in this chapter only, I guess in verse number 38 or 39, that hearing of about Krishna leads to seeing the Lord, seeing Krishna. Even our beloved Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is explained as Cheto Darpanam Marjanam. So too, the heart needs to be clean to see Krishna. And that cleanliness is going to come only by hearing. Shravanam Kirtayanto Mam. It is very, very necessary. Once a person starts hearing about Krishna, starts chanting the glories of Krishna, that is the time that that person does not have, no longer has a material body. His body becomes spiritual. Here, there is one more term that is being used over here is Parameshtayam. So, Prabhupada explains that there are two kind of meanings to it. Either it can be termed as Brahmaloka or spiritual activities that we do for satisfaction of Krishna. So, why Brahmaloka? Brahmaloka is the place where the discussion of the narration of the God keeps happening constantly. It never stops. So that after annihilation, every inhabitant in Brahmalok can go back home to Godhead. So all the spiritual activities, constant kirtan about Krishna can be termed as Parameshtayam, the term that is being used over here. Then moving on to verse number 85, technically the last verse of this chapter, but we still have more. In verse number 85, here it is explained that the male and female attraction in this material world is the most strongest one that we can ever see. It is tough to overcome it. Prabhupada is explaining that by this attraction, one becomes overly attached to the material world in terms of Griha, Kshetra, Shuta, Apta, and Vita. What is that? That is home, land, children, friends, money, and so on and so forth. We get so much attached to all these things. And then one person gets attached to the bodily conceptions of I, mine, this is my house, these are my kids, this is my country, this is my society. There is a lot of me involved in that. But the moment a person starts to understand the story about Puranjana that Narad Muni described to Prachina Bhari, starts understanding the lessons out of it, then his sexual attraction will start diminishing. The attraction towards this material world will start diminishing and will understand his real constitutional position. So here they are giving us what you say, an ashirvad, a kind of boon that whoever reads this narration will slowly start getting away from this material world and will start getting more and more attracted towards bhakti, devotional service. And then we move on to the next verse. This next verse is 29, 1a and 2a. So these are a couple of extra verses. According to Vijay Dwaja Tirtha, he also belongs to Madhvacharya Sampradaya. And there are some couple of verses extra according to him. So Prabhupada has translated those two very well for us. So in this verse, here, it is said that a man is no different than animal. There is no difference between us and animals if we are doing all the same things like ahara, nidra, bhaya, maithunam, that is eating, sleeping, making babies, and defending our family. Everybody is doing that. Nowadays, in modern science, they say, oh, humans are rational animal. So even animals have basic rationality. What we have intelligence. And who gives us that intelligence? Obviously, we know Krishna gives us that intelligence. And with that intelligence, if we are going to use that intelligence in understanding the devotional services and executing them for Krishna, is the time when it will make us different from the animal. Until then, there will be no difference between them and us. They will be four-legged, we will be two-legged, but we will still be animal unless we don't start following bhakti. So moving on to the next verse, 29, 1b. In this verse, it is said, there is a term that is used over here is Daya Jiveshu. So it is, what does that mean? That means mercy to other living entities. So if there is no mercy in a person, there is going to be zero progress in bhakti. A devotee is always very merciful. Why is he having mercy? He is having mercy at the person in front of him that he is not able to understand the knowledge about bhakti. So he tries to share that knowledge because out of compassion, that why should the person in front of you should also have punarapi jananam and punarapi marnam. So this is how a bhakt, a devotee, can portray his mercy by sharing the knowledge of Krishna. So and when he's doing this, he starts preaching. If a person, Prabhupada is explaining, knows, thinks that he knows the knowledge, he knows about Krishna, about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and is not preaching, is not helping the other person around him, that person is termed as Kanishta Adhikari. This is what Prabhupada is explaining. Some people try to portray that, oh, we are very good bhaktas and devotees just for the purpose of acquiring fame. That is also condemned over here by Prabhupada. Our real motive is to go home, back home to Godhead, and try and preach the knowledge that you have to as many people as you have. So we should start practicing what we are preaching to. So sometimes we can teach them by acharan, sometimes we can teach them by books, sometimes we can teach them by sangha, influence. So a devotee should always preach in various forms possible. And then moving on to the last verse, verse number 29 2b. This is the last verse for today and this chapter. After this, we conclude this chapter. Here, Prabhupada explained us that we have already learned yesterday when Maharaj was telling in the class in the temple that Maya is something that is not. Maya is which is not. So it is something that not real. So everything in Maya is not true. Where are we? We are right now in the material world. Material world has what? Maya. So whatever we see around us is not true unless it is not related to devotional service or Krishna. So the reality is only Krishna and service to Krishna. Apart from that, everything is unreal. Everything is temporary. Nothing is going to last with us forever. Only Krishna is going to stay with us forever. Paramatma is there with us since the day, uh, we don't know which day, since the day we came here into existence in this material world. Since that day, Paramatma is there with us and he will be there with us. So the only truth in this world is Krishna, rest everything is false. So this understanding is the understanding that can save us from getting into the clutches of Maya. I will take a pause over here. Here the chapter ends. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Wonderful class. Hare Krishna.